Multiplying and dividing monomials. This will be a review from Algebra 1, and also if you had math models, you saw this in math models. Now for number 1, we are multiplying. So what's another way to write x squared? X times x. Then that needs to be multiplied by x to the 4th. What's another way to write x to the 4th power? X times x times x times x. And what is another way to write x times x times x times x times x times x, a total of 6 times? X to the 6th power. Now, hopefully you can recognize a shortcut, that way you don't have to expand the multiplication for each and every single problem. So looking at my answer is x to the 6th. Looking at the problem, where did this 6 come from? Yeah, adding the exponents. 2 plus 4 gives us 6. So when the bases are the same and you're multiplying, just add the exponents. Problem number 2. Now, notice we have coefficients out front. So what if I didn't have the variables? What if I just had 2 and negative 4? What would you do with those? Multiply them. So 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Now, when you're multiplying, we need to add the exponents for each variable. Now, when we're writing our answers, we want it in standard form, which means alphabetically. So that means A comes before B, which comes before C. So when you're trying to decide which one would go first out of A, B, and C, well, it has to be the A, alphabetically. Now we need to add the exponents. Now this first A, its exponent is missing. So anytime the exponent is missing, it's understood to be a 1. So if the exponent's not there, it's a 1. So when you're multiplying, add these exponents. So 1 plus 3 is 4. Next would be for the B's. So 2 plus 3 is 5. C is one of a kind. So if it is the only one, just drop it down. So the answer is negative 8, A to the 4th, B to the 5th, C to the 1st. Problem number 3. Again, what if I just had 2 and 5? What would I do with those? Multiply them. So the coefficients need to be multiplied. So 2 times 5 is 10. And when you're multiplying and the bases are the same, you keep the base the same. And what do you do with the exponents? Add them. So this one is a 3. What's the exponent for the other one? 1. So 3 plus 1 is 4. So the answer is 10x to the 4th. Number 4, we need to multiply the coefficient. So we need to multiply 1/3 times 3/4. What happens with these 3's? They cancel. So 1/3 times 3/4, what does that equal? 1/4. Now, what would go next, the x or the y? The x. Alphabetically, x would come first. Now, when you're multiplying, make sure you add the exponent. So this x, what is the exponent? Up here is a 1, and when you add it with the 2, we get 3. Now, for the y's, this is a 5, this is a 1, so 5 plus 1 is 6. So the answer is 1/4 x cubed y to the 6th. It has to be in that order. X comes before the y. Next one, number 5. What do I do with the 3 and the negative 4? Multiply them. So what's 3 times negative 4? Negative 12. And what do I do with the exponents? Add them. 7 plus 2 is 9. I want you to do number 6. We'll check your answer in just a moment. So you do problem 6. What's 2 times negative 5? Negative 10. What do I do with the exponents? Add them. 2 plus 4 is 6, and 3 plus 2 is 5. So your answer should have been negative 10, x to the 6th, y to the 5th. Number 7. How is number 7 different? It has, well, technically there's 3 coefficients. Let me change to a red. Over here, what coefficient should be out front? A 1. What about right here? It's really a negative 1, and then we have a positive 4. So multiply all 3 of those together. So it's 1 times negative 1. And what's negative 1 times 4? Negative 4. Now for my variables, they need to go in alphabetic order. So which one would go first? The m. So this is m to the first, m to the first. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Then for the n's, we have 2 plus 3 is 5. And then for the p's, this would be 1 plus 3 is 4. So negative 4 m squared into the 5th power p to the 4th. So it has to be m in p. I want you to do problem 8. We'll check your answers in just a moment. So you try problem 8. Multiply those coefficients first. We have a 5, a negative 3. What is this one? Negative 1. Now I'm going to change it up. Instead of multiplying left to right, I'm going to do it backwards. Is that okay? If I had 2 times 3, could I do 3 times 2? Yes, it's commutative. We could switch the order and get the same answer. So working backwards, what's negative 1 times negative 3? Positive 3, and 3 times 5? 15. So you should have gotten positive 15. The negative times the negative should have changed to positive. Now, what would go next, the x or the y? X, and when I'm multiplying, what do I do with the exponents? You add them, so this is 4 plus 2 is 6 plus 2 is 8. And for the y's, this is y to the first, so 1 plus 2 is 3. So your answer was 15x to the 8th y cubed, in that order. So that's all for the multiplying. Moving on to the bottom section, now we are dividing. So when we were multiplying, what did we do with the exponents? Add them, so when you're dividing, what do you think we'll do with the exponents? Yes, we will subtract them. So looking at number 9, keep the base the same, so keep the x. And when I subtract these exponents, what's 7 minus 4? 3. There's my answer, it's x cubed. So when you're dividing and the bases are the same, subtract the exponents. Now number 10, we have a fraction out front. We have a 12 ninths out front. So what we need to do is simplify that fraction. So what is a common factor, or what divides evenly into both 12 and 9? 3. So divide both of these by 3 to simplify that fraction. So 12 divided by 3 is 4, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now, what we need to do when you are dividing, you need to ask yourself, where's the larger exponent? Is it in the top or is it in the bottom? That's where your answer is going to go. So wherever the largest exponent is, that's where the answer will go. So for number 10, where's the bigger m? Look, this one's m to the 8th. This is m to the 1st. So the bigger one is in the top. So your answer for m has to go in the top. So wherever the larger exponent is, that's where the answer needs to go. So if the bigger exponent's in the top, the answer goes in the top for that variable. Then look at the ends. Where's the bigger exponent, top or bottom? Top. So m and n both need to go in the top. Now when we're dividing, what do we do with the exponents? subtract. So when I subtract, what is 8 minus 1? So that needs to be m to the 7th. And for the n's, what is 6 minus 4? So that needs to be n squared. So when you're dividing, subtract the exponents. Number 11. Where's the larger exponent? At the bottom. So if the larger exponent is in the bottom, that's where your answer has to go. Now, if I do top minus bottom, if I do 5 minus 9, what do I get? Negative 4. But we never want to leave a negative exponent in our answer. So using this trick, you need to do big minus little. So out of these two, what's the bigger exponent? So we need to do 9 minus 5. And what is 9 minus 5? 4. So x to the 4th in the denominator. And what goes in the hole at the top? A 1. So the answer is 1 over x to the 4th. So wherever the larger exponent is, that's where the answer needs to go for that variable. Looking at number 12, if you have a fraction up front, you need to simplify that fraction. So negative 2 and 24 can both be divided by what number? 2. So what's negative 2 divided by 2? Negative 1. And what's 24 divided by 2? 12. Now, where's my larger C, in the top or bottom? Top. So your answer for C has to go in the top. Where's the larger D, in the top or in the bottom? Top. So C and D both need to go in the top. And when we're dividing, what do we do with these exponents? Subtract them. So big minus little. So for the C's, what is 3 minus 2? Do I have to put my 1 right here? No. So I'm going to erase that. You don't need it. And really, do I need this 1 right here? No, I don't need that one either. But I wanted you to see negative 2 over 24 simplified to negative 1/12. Now for my D's, big minus little, what's 6 minus 2? 4. There's our answer. Negative C, D to the 4th, and 12 in the denominator. Number 13, where's the larger x, top or bottom? Bottom, so your answer for x has to go in the bottom. For the y's, where's the larger y? Top, so your y has to go in the top. Now when you're dividing, what do you do with that exponent? Subtract, so for the x's, what's 5 minus 2? 3, so that needs to be x cubed in the denominator. And for the y's, big minus little, what's 3 minus 1? 2. So y squared in the numerator, x cubed in the denominator. I want you to do the last 3 on the front page. I want you to do 14, 15, and 16. And we'll talk about those 3 here in a couple moments. So 14, 15, 16. Finish that front page. Okay, number 14. The first thing you need to do is simplify your fraction out front. So we have 40 over negative 5. So you have to figure out what number divides into both of those. 5. So what's 40 divided by 5? 8. What's negative 5 divided by 5? Negative 1. Now, where's the larger x? At the top. So my answer for x needs to go in the top. Where's the larger y? There's only one, right? So if it's one of a kind, it's just going to stay where it's at. So the y is going to stay in the numerator. Now for the x's, when I'm dividing, what do I do with those exponents? Subtract them. So what is 5 minus 2? 3. So this is going to be 8x cubed y over negative 1. But actually that simplifies, because what is this divided by negative 1? Negative 8 x cubed y. Now I would take either answer. Either answer would be fine with me. But you do need to recognize that negative 1, when you divide by a negative, it just changes the sign. Okay, the next two, number 15. Where's the larger A? Top. So your answer for A needs to go in the top. What about the B's? Which B is larger? Why do they cancel? They're the same. So B cubed on top, B cubed on bottom, they cancel. Where's the larger C? Bottom. So A on top, C on bottom. When we're dividing, what do we do with those exponents? Subtract. So for the A's, what's 5 minus 4? Do I have to put the 1? No. For the C's, what is 6 minus 2? 4. So the answer is A over C to the 4th. Number 16, fraction out front needs to be simplified. So 2 and 8 can be both divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Where's the larger x? Bottom. So your answer for x will go in the bottom. Where's the bigger y? Bottom. So y also goes in the bottom. What about the larger z? Z cubed on top, z cubed on bottom. They cancel. And when we're dividing, what do we do with those exponents? So for the x's, what's 7 minus 5? 2. And for the y's, 5 minus 3? 2. So the answer is 1 over 4 x squared y squared. Questions on the front. On the back, we have 8 more problems to go. They're going fast, aren't they? Number 17. We need to simplify. Here is the biggest rule for today. If you have a negative exponent, you can't have it in your final answer. So final answers cannot have a negative exponent. So to get rid of a negative exponent, you send it to the other side of the fraction. And whenever you send something to the other side, you change the sign. So the first thing I need to do is change this to a fraction. So to change it to a fraction, I'm going to put it over 1. So to change it to a fraction, put it over 1. Now notice my negative exponent is in the top. So to get rid of the negative exponent, you send it to the other side. So if it's in the top, you send it to the bottom. And when you send it to the other side, you change the sign. So a to the negative 4, send it to the other side, becomes a to the positive 4. What do I put in the hole at the top? A 1. So the answer is 1 over a to the 4th. And that's the final answer because I no longer have a negative exponent in the answer. So if you have a negative exponent, send it to the other side, and you change the sign. Number 18. I cannot leave a negative exponent in my answer. So I have to send it to the other side of the fraction. So the very first thing I need to do with this is change that to a fraction. So 5x to the negative 2 power, how do I change that to a fraction? Yeah, put it over 1. Now this really gives people trouble. The negative 2, what is the base that goes with that exponent? X. The negative 2 goes with only the x. So the only thing that moves is the x. So the 5 stays where it's at because this is actually 5 to the first power. So x to the negative 2, it's in the top. What happens when I send it to the bottom? It becomes x to the positive 2. So the 5 stayed. The only thing that moved was the x because it was with the negative exponent. So 5 over x squared. Number 19. What's wrong with 19? It has a negative exponent. So to get rid of a negative exponent, move it to the other side. So if it's in the bottom, where do I send it? To the top. So x to the negative 3 in the bottom, when I move it to the other side, it becomes x to the positive 3. Now, did the 2 have a negative exponent with it? No, this is actually 2 to the first power. So it doesn't move. So it's going to stay in the top. And what do I put in the hole at the bottom? Do I have to have the 1? No, so the answer is just 2x cubed. If you want to put it over 1, that's fine, but it's just 2x cubed. Everything is now at the top, so we don't have anything in the bottom anymore. Number 20. This one tends to give people problems too. And what I would do if I were you is take it one variable at a time. So a to the negative 4, does it stay or does it move? Yeah, if it's negative, you have to move it to the other side. So a to the negative 4, when I send it to the bottom, what does it become? A to the positive 4. So if you send it to the other side, you change the sign. So a to the negative 4 in the top, when it's in the bottom, it's a to the positive 4. Now for the b, does it stay or does it need to move? It stays. So b squared stays up top. Its exponent is positive, so it doesn't move. What about c squared? Does it stay or does it move? Yeah, if it's a positive exponent, it's going to stay where it's at. So c squared stays in the denominator. And then d to the negative 3, does it stay or does it move? It moves to the top, so if it's d to the negative 3 in the bottom, what does it become when I move it to the top? D to the positive 3. So this one, you only move it if it has a negative exponent. And then make sure your variables are in alphabetic order, so B comes before D, A comes before C. So just make sure they're alphabetic. 4 more problems. Number 21. What's wrong with 21? It has not the negative 4. It's okay for a coefficient to be negative. The only thing that can't be negative is the exponent. So that's what's wrong with it. So the negative 4 is okay. The y squared is also okay. But it's the x to the negative 3 that's not good. So how do I get rid of x to the negative 3? If it's in the top, I move it to the, and what does it become in the bottom? X to the positive 3. Make sure x comes before y. So in the denominator, it needs to be x cubed, y squared. Number 22. If you have a fraction out front, simplify your fraction. And 6 and 9 can both be divided by what? 3. So what's 6 divided by 3? What's 9 divided by 3? 3. Now this one, I could move the negative exponents, or I can do what we were doing originally with the division and just do big minus little. So look at your A's. Where's the bigger A? Bottom. So your answer for A goes in the bottom. Where's the bigger B? Top. So your answer for B needs to go to the top. Now you have to do big minus little. So for the A, the bigger exponent is what? 4. So big minus, what is the little one? Negative 2. And what happens when I subtract a negative? Changes to positive. So what's 4 plus 2? 6. So that's a to the 6. And then for my B, big minus little, what's the bigger B? 3. So big minus, what's the little one? Negative 1. And what happens when I subtract a negative? Changes to positive. So 3 plus 1 is 4. So that's how you could do it if you're actually using the exponents and dividing. Now over here, let me do another example, and I'll do it a second way. So if you like that way, perfect. If you didn't like it, I'm going to show you another way. That way maybe this might help you better. So we already said that 6/9 simplified to 2/3, right? Now, I want to move these negative exponents. So both of these need to move. So I'm going to keep the a to the 4th in the bottom and the b cubed in the top. Now, a to the negative 2, what happens when I send it to the bottom? It becomes a to the positive 2. B to the negative 1, what happens when I send it to the top? It becomes b to the positive 1. I'll go ahead and put it. Now, I need to simplify. You can't have two b's and two a's. So this just came into a two-step problem. Now, when you're multiplying, this actually means b cubed times b to the 1st, and a to the 4th times a to the 2nd. When you're multiplying, what do we do with the exponents? Add them. So it's 3 plus 1. So that's b to the 4th. And what's 4 plus 2? So that's a to the 6th. So you get the same answer, whether you do big minus little, or if you actually move the negative exponents. You'll get the same answer. It doesn't matter to me which method you do. As long as you do it correct, you'll get the right answer. Last two problems. We have a fraction to a negative exponent. Now, there's just a trick. Here's the trick. What do you do if you have a negative exponent? If you have a negative exponent, what do you do with it? You don't subtract it, you move it to the other side. So that's what we're going to do here. So the 4 in the top, send it to the bottom. The x squared in the bottom, send it to the top. So once you move it to the other side, it's no longer a negative, it becomes a positive. Well, do I really need that first power out there? No, so the answer is just x squared over 4. So the trick is if you have a fraction to a negative power, flip the fraction and drop the negative with the exponent. So 4 over x squared, I flipped it, it became x squared over 4, and the negative 1 changed to positive 1. So flip the fraction and change the sign. So we have another example, number 24. If you have a fraction to a negative exponent, flip the fraction. So 3a to the 4 is in the top, send it to the bottom, and 2b squared in the bottom, send it to the top. And when you flip it, it's no longer a negative 1, it changes to a positive 1. And do you need a positive 1 exponent? No, so this is just going to be 2b squared over 3a to the 4th. And that is all for our note. So the fractions, flip it and change the negative exponent to a positive exponent.